Hi there, everybody. My name is Scott.SlayBee. I'm the creator of the iNotice method and the author of Noticing Poetry Unit on the Academy of American Poets website. And I'm here today to share with you a way of using Microsoft Word track changes and the iNotice template that I have on SlayBeeblog.wordpress.com to engage in some online work with using the iNotice method. So one of the things I've wanted to do for a long time is create a screencast tutorial for people about how to do it. And I'm happy to say that given the fact I'm doing distance learning for my school at the moment, I have an opportunity to not only create it for my students, but also for the wider users, both educators, students, and anybody who wants to engage with poetry in a pretty authentic way. So why don't we get to it? If you're not familiar with the iNotice and method or noticing poetry, you could head over to Noticing Poetry at poets.org, the Academy of American Poets, and check out the full unit plan if you're in a classroom with students. If you're not, and or you're a student yourself listening to this, the good news is now if you download the Word doc template, I can guide you through how to use it so that you can notice all kinds of things in poems and engage with the 4 levels of language. So before we begin, I want to make sure that you understand the whole concept of levels of language. It comes from Louis Turco's The Book of Forms. And if you're not familiar with it, it's known as the Poet's Bible in many ways. The Book of Forms, Louis Turco breaks down the idea that all language has 4 levels. There's the visual level, which is how the poem looks on the page, and it consists, and these are things that you could look for. There's the ideational level, which is how the ideas shift across the poem, and what it literally means and what it also means in a connotative sense. The sonic level, which are sounds and patterns of sounds in the poem, and it could be any sounds. And the sensory level, which are word pictures, the idea that an image that's created in your head is the sensory level, and that includes figures of speech. So he brought up that idea of the levels of language, and the iNotice method kind of comes from that, as well as from Michael Thune, who wrote Structure and Surprise. If you're not familiar with it, it's a great text. And in its Structure and Surprise, Michael Thune says all poems shift or turn. So the idea of the ideational level, you'll see here, also includes shifts in the ideas and how they move from one part of the poem to the other, to the end, actually. So these are the 4 things that we're just going to notice. And if you only notice these 4 things and their symphony in the poem and how they work together, then you're engaging with the art of the language itself, and you're engaging with poetry. So let's see how this works with in the Station of the Metro by Ezra Pound. So I'm just going to go and paste it in there directly from, I usually use the print version. And it comes up with a screen, and the print version then can be copy and pasted, and the line integrity is there, so I usually keep that. I like to create a space between what I see at the top and the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use track changes. And if you're not familiar with track changes is right up here in this bar, okay? And what you can do is you can use track changes simply by going to the insert and then the comment feature. And you can do that throughout this exercise. So if we go back down, and I'm just going to paste in all of my stuff that I did at once so you can see how that works. So I start off by always at the left at the visual level because it's the first thing we see, it's the first thing we notice, and we can notice it. It's pretty low stakes noticing how the words and lines of the poem are visually arranged. We can all see that. So what's going to happen now is you're going to see me use track changes, and I'm going to populate the right-hand side with the annotations that I did as I went. So you'll notice that as I'm going through, I'm also highlighting in the color associated with the noticing level. And what's happening here is that I'm really doing one at a time. So visual level was done first, the sensory level was done, or the ideational level was done next, and then the sonic level, and finally the sensory level. You can go in any order that you want. I prefer to go in that order, but then again, I'm coming back and forth, but I'm making sure that all of the things that I notice are simply that I'm not making tons of inferences, okay? And the reason I'm not making a ton of inferences here is because what I want to make sure that I do is I want to make sure that I've populated this right side with all these colors. Because what I would say is that looking at these colors, this poem functions mostly on the sensory level, using images, right? And most of those images are working in concert with the other things in the poem. I use the word symphony at the beginning because really that's what this is. It's a symphony of different language levels. Every poem's a symphony of different language levels. Every poem's a different symphony. So the idea is that if you start to notice these different levels of language throughout, you will become more adept at seeing some of those nuances and relationships. And those relationships between different choices, that then sets you up later to see how they do it. William Faulkner said, read everything, and good, bad, trash classics, and then write. If it's good, you'll know. If it's not, throw it out the window. The idea, though, is that you want to make sure that you're seeing these models and seeing the nuances that the writer is undertaking in making this poem. So Ezra Pound, who has written a 3-line poem, and look at all of these annotations that have been made. Now, these are just noticings, right? The title puts me in a metro station. That's an idea. The picture of the station. And these are all of the yellows are all of the sensory levels. The blues are all the sounds. The greens are all the ideas. And the grays are all of the visual aspects of the poem that I've noticed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put this document on the site as well. I don't think you need that there. And I'll put the video on. If you want to use track changes and give it a try, let me know. Oops, I noticed there's a little error here. I didn't actually, there we go. Get all the sounds. But give it a try. I think it's a great way to show your engagement with what you notice in the poem. The more that you notice, the more likely you are going to be able to make some ideas about it and to have some good kind of engagement and discussion of the beauty of poetry. So I hope this was helpful, and please leave a comment in the comment feed. And if you end up sharing it or trying it, I'd love to know.